Gentlemen, I shall be brief. But I would like to use my remaining time with you to remind you this case is not a difficult one. It requires no minute sifting of complicated facts, but it does require you to be sure beyond all reasonable doubt as to the guilt of the defendant. To begin with, this case should never have come to trial. This case is as simple as black and white. The state has not produced one iota of medical evidence to the effect that the crime Tom Robinson is charged with ever took place. It has relied instead on the testimony of two witnesses, whose evidence has not only been called into serious question on cross-examination, but has been flatly contradicted by the defendant. The defendant is not guilty, but somebody in this courtroom is. I have nothing but pity in my heart for the chief witness for the state, but my pity does not extend so far as to her putting a man's life at stake, which she has done in an effort to get rid of her own guilt. Now I say guilt, gentlemen, because it was guilt that motivated her. She has committed no crime. She has merely broken a rigid and time-honored code of our society. A code so severe that whoever breaks it is hounded from our midst as unfit to live with. She is a victim of cruel poverty and ignorance, but I cannot pity her. She's white. She knew full well the enormity of her offense. But because her desires were stronger than the code she was breaking, she persisted in breaking it. She persisted, and her subsequent reaction is something that all of us have known at one time or another. She did what every child has done. She tried to put the evidence of her offense away from her. But in this case, she is no child hiding stolen contraband. She struck out at her victim. Of necessity, she must put him away from her, remove him from her presence, from this world. She must destroy the evidence of her offense. What was the evidence of her offense? Tom Robinson, a human being. She must put Tom Robinson away from her. Tom Robinson was to her a daily reminder of what she did. What did she do? She tempted a Negro. She was white, and she tempted a Negro. She did something that in our society is unspeakable. She kissed a black man. Not an old uncle, but a strong, young Negro man. No code mattered to her before she broke it, but it came crashing down on her afterwards. Her father saw it, and the defendant has testified as to his remarks. And what did her father do? We don't know. But there is circumstantial evidence to indicate that Mayella Ewell was beaten savagely by someone who led almost exclusively with his left. We do know in part what Mr. Ewell did. He did what any God-fearing, persevering, self-respecting white man would do under the circumstances. He swore out a warrant, no doubt signing it with his left hand. And now Tom Robinson sits here before you, having taken the oath with the only good hand he possesses, his right hand. So a quiet, respectable, humble Negro, who had the unmitigated temerity to feel sorry for a white woman, has had to put his word against two white people's. I need not remind you of their appearance and conduct on the stand. You saw them for yourselves. The witnesses for the state, with the exception of the sheriff of Macomb County, have presented themselves to you gentlemen to this court in the cynical confidence that their word would not be doubted. Confident that you gentlemen would go along with them on the assumption, the evil assumption, that all Negroes lie, that all Negroes are basically immoral beings, that all Negro men are not to be trusted around our women. An assumption one associates with minds of their caliber, which, gentlemen, we know is in itself a lie as black as Tom Robinson's skin, a lie I do not have to point out to you. You know the truth. And the truth is this: some Negroes lie. Some Negroes are immoral. Some Negro men are not to be trusted around women, black or white. This is a truth that applies to the human race and to no particular race of men. There's not a person in this courtroom who has never told a lie, never done an immoral thing, and no man living who has never looked on a woman without desire. One more thing, gentlemen, before I quit. Thomas Jefferson once said, "All men are created equal." A phrase that the Yankees and the distaff side of the executive branch in Washington are fond of hurling at us. There's a tendency in this year of grace 1935 for certain people to use this phrase out of context, to satisfy all conditions. The most ridiculous example that I can think of is the people who run public education promote the stupid and the idle along with the industrious. Because all men are created equal, educators will gravely tell you that those children left behind suffer terrible feelings of inferiority. We know all men are not created equal in the sense some people would have us believe. Some men are smarter than others. Some people have more opportunity because they're born with it. Some men make more money than others. Some ladies bake better cakes than others. Some people are born gifted beyond the normal scope of most men. But there is one way in this country that all men are created equal. One institution that makes the pauper the equal to a Rockefeller, the stupid man the equal of an Einstein, and the ignorant man the equal of any college president. That institution, gentlemen, is a court. It could be the Supreme Court of these United States, or the humblest J.P. court in the land, or this honorable court which you serve. Our courts have their faults, as does any human institution. But in this country, our courts are the great levelers. In our courts, all men are created equal. I'm no idealist to believe firmly in the integrity of our courts and in our jury system. That is no ideal to me. That is a living, working reality. A court is no better than each man of you sitting here before me on this jury. A court is only as sound as its jury. A jury is only as sound as the men that make it up. Now, I am confident that you gentlemen will review without passion the evidence you heard, come to a decision, restore this defendant to his family. In the name of God, gentlemen, do your duty. Fuck.